What is going on, y'all, and welcome back to Off-Road Outlaws, where we are going to be talking more about some recent updates that the developers of American Marksman, who are also coincidentally the developers of Off-Road Outlaws and No Limit Drag Racing 2.0, we're going to be discussing some updates that they gave us as far as interior customization on your buildings and houses, and we're also going to go into some heavily discussed topics about American Marksman as of recently. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure you keep watching for the rest of the video. So first up, we're going to be looking at the interiors, or I should say the custom interiors of some of the buildings in the game. Now, what I'm really excited about is how much detail there is in this particular screenshot. Now, there's another screenshot that I'm going to show you guys in a moment, or I should say a few moments, but look at all of the detail in, like, the furniture, where the bed is, the little plant next to the bed, the chair, the, like, everything that's in this room. You got the window leading to the view outside, you've got the clock on the wall. All of this stuff is customizable, and not only is it all customizable, but I believe you'll be able to interact with it as well. So as I look at this, I'm thinking to myself, you know, how crazy would it be to be able to walk around these houses with your friends? How crazy would it be to have stuff like this in, say, for example, Off-Road Outlaws, when you would go over to your friend's house to just hang out? You know, it would be wild, right? And as we already know, there are going to be vehicles in American Marksman. We don't have a confirmed list of what those vehicles are going to be just yet. However, I'm really excited to see what they are once the developers reveal them. Now, this is another interior shot that the developers released of one of the houses, and as you can see, once again, we have a lot of custom features in here. We have the full kitchen. We also have what look like multiple trophies around the room, and of course on the wall. We have the cabinet that you can see. Actually, there seems to be a variety of different cabinets, and we have the living room set that I don't know if that comes as one set or if that's basically a pieced together set that you create as the player. But regardless, I can see a lot of the player base for this game spending a lot of time customizing the inside of their house. Now, if you plan on spending a lot of time customizing your house, let me know in the comments down below. Or if you are more interested in just engaging in the gameplay and you're like, well, I'm not really all that bothered about customizing my house, let me know that in the comment section below as well. I would really like to see where a lot of y'all sit in terms of the interior customization of the house. Now, another thing I wanted to do in this video is take a look at some of the most commonly asked questions across the community about American Marksman. Now, a lot of the questions that I see literally all across the board, because I'm looking at a bunch of different comments right now, is when is this dropping? Where's the release date? Please release date. There's a lot of release date questions, and this is both from my comment section on YouTube and also the comment section of the American Marksman page on Facebook that is run by the developers. But again, you know, there's honestly, the more I scroll, there's more like, where is the release date? What is the release date? And when is the release date? When can we play it? There's a lot. And again, there's no confirmed release date as of recording this particular video, but I've kind of been thinking, at least for me, it seems like they're gearing up for a release date pretty soon. Now, I have seen some comments out there that have been saying, well, you know, I know they said it would be soon, but what that really means is that really means it's way off in the future. Don't get excited. And I'm like, you know, I don't think they would be teasing us with this much information and giving us this much of an inside look at the game publicly if they weren't planning on, you know, at least throwing more hints about a release date out there somewhat soon, or even maybe releasing the game somewhat soon, because again, remember, we are coming up on the holiday season. We are coming up on a season when a lot of games get released, both in the PC and console space and in the mobile space, which of course, American Marksman as a game exists in the mobile space, just as Off-Road Outlaws and No Limit Drag Racing 2.0 do. However, as we can see here on the screen, I'm playing Off-Road Outlaws using BlueStacks, which is an Android emulator that I am running on my PC. So essentially, I'm using an Android tablet that is emulated within my PC, and that's how I'm able to play games like Off-Road Outlaws on my PC. And speaking of Off-Road Outlaws, with all of this news surrounding American Marksman lately, there are a couple of things related to Off-Road Outlaws that I would like to talk about as well. Now, we saw this back when No Limit Drag Racing 2.0 was getting a bunch of updates, and then some of those new features and vehicles got carried over to Off-Road Outlaws. And I'm really hoping that some of these features that we're seeing get revealed in American Marksman also get carried over to Off-Road Outlaws. Now, I know I talked about this in a couple of previous Off-Road Outlaws videos where I felt felt like Off-Road Outlaws in some ways with the birds could have been a bit of a test bed for certain gameplay mechanics that are coming to American Marksman, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some features of American Marksman make their way, sort of like backtrack their way back over to Off-Road Outlaws, because again, we saw that with some vehicles from No Limit Drag Racing 2.0 that made it into Off-Road Outlaws. We saw that with some tire types in No Limit Drag Racing 2.0 that made their way over to Off-Road Outlaws. We also saw the same thing with some exhaust system types from, again, No Limit Drag Racing 2.0 that made their way back over to Off-Road Outlaws. And so these developers clearly love to share features between their games, which I am all for. It makes complete and total sense, because if you already have the assets there and they are already features that people like, I see no reason not to share them amongst your own games. Now, whether or not we'll be seeing features of American Marksman making their way back over to Off-Road Outlaws at some point remains to be seen, but I would really love to see some of those features have some carryover, because some of the features of American Marksman, I think, would be right at home in Off-Road Outlaws as well. Now, I would also like you guys to let me know in the comment section down below what American Marksman features that we have seen so far that you would like to see get carried over to Off-Road Outlaws, because I think there is a lot of potential here for not only American Marksman to be a really exciting game going forward, but there's also a lot of potential for Off-Road Outlaws to grow to levels it hasn't seen before if some of these features are, again, migrated over. Like, for example, this interior customization, or I should say the level of interior customization that we talked about at the beginning of the video. Imagine if we had that for buildings or the inside of buildings in Off-Road Outlaws. Imagine if you could customize your freaking house in Off-Road Outlaws. It would literally turn Off-Road Outlaws into an even bigger off-road roleplay experience than it already was, because we already have roleplay style maps where people will claim their own house. They will set it up as if it was theirs. They will park their vehicles there. They'll have a garage space for their trailer. We've already seen map creators figure out ways to create garages with vehicle lifts, and all of these things contribute to, again, that roleplay sort of gameplay environment. And, if we get more features that, again, contribute to that, like, for example, the ability to customize the interior of your own house, I mean, having that in Off-Road Outlaws would be freaking insane, and I think it would be a massive step for the RP community in this game. Now, as far as No Limit Drag Racing 2.0 goes, I don't really see the potential for quite as much carryover between American Marksman and that game, because that game is kind of in a very different realm. It's in a very different sphere than American Marksman and Off-Road Outlaws. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of, like, kind of feature carryover between No Limit Drag Racing 2.0 and Off-Road Outlaws, because in Off-Road Outlaws, there are some people that do, pavement-focused drag racing. It's not necessarily the biggest part of the game, but there is definitely a community around it, so that's why there's a little bit of carryover there. Although, American Marksman to No Limit Drag Racing, I feel like would be a pretty big stretch, because, I don't really see carryover going either way, from one game to the other or back the other way, because for one, I don't think a drag car would be all that at home in American Marksman, and for two, I don't think No Limit Drag Racing 2.0 players really want to customize a cabin. They want to customize a drag car. So there's not really as much opportunity for carryover in that game that I can see, but if you think there is, you could totally let me know in the comments. But as we start to wrap up this video, I do really want to say that as we see more updates about American Marksman itself, I am getting excited about it. I am getting really excited for it, and I'm getting excited to see what the developers actually do with it, and how the community around the games that we already have from the same developers, how that community reacts to the experience that American Marksman provides. Because if you were someone that, like, say for example, when the birds mechanic dropped in Off-Road Outlaws, if you were someone that was like, oh my god, this is the update I've been waiting for forever, this is going to get me to spend tons more time on the game, then you may be all about American Marksman. Now, I did see a comment on the developer's Facebook page a little while ago asking, will there be fishing mechanics in American Marksman? And someone kind of gave a little bit of a sarcastic reply and was like, well, it's called, American Marksman, not American Fisherman. But here's the thing. I feel like, there's so much crossover in terms of interest between like a hunting game and a fishing game that I wouldn't be all that shocked if at some point later on down the road fishing mechanics were discussed for that game, you know? I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be that far-fetched to imagine. Now, I know that it's a little bit early to be thinking about any kind of, you know, future updates to American Marksman because the game isn't even out yet, but I mean, if that's something that you guys think there would be, you know, a nice amount of carryover between, especially, you know, for topics, I mean, I would be all for it. I think it would actually enhance the experience of the game. But again, we haven't even played the game yet, so that all remains to be seen. But if you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed these topics, make sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time.